Hello, everyone. Astaghfirullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Auzubillah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and unnecessary ignorance and evil. Rabbi Gfirli, my Lord, forgive me. May God forgive our species for the sins that it is conscious and unconscious of. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. May God guide us to the direct path. So, all right, now we can begin. Hello, everyone. I started off this lecture by acknowledging the system admin of reality. Um, after many years, I am Muslim, and it has become clear to me in ways that surpass culture, um, cultural programming. Pretty much, I acknowledge that we're in an existential system, and there's a system admin, and there's even mods, right? Moderators. But anyways, so all praise due to the Lord of the worlds. There is a higher power uh, to the human being. In the same way, if a human being looks at an ant, it considers itself a higher power. It's not too far fetched of a notion to consider what is the higher power to the human, right? And for me, the perspective that this world is an empty room and human beings are at the peak of it is a bit ridiculous. The world we find ourselves is a world where there are lesser and greater dimensions of how existence is happening. Anyways, the point of this lecture today is that it's more like a research thing I'm doing. At the end of it, I will talk, but I'm gonna read some stuff for you. um, and so yeah, just let me find a nice song here. Okay. So I'm gonna share the screen. Let me see how I can do that. Okay. So So the idea is researching the most advanced forms of academic human understanding. Okay. So we want to kind of see the approach I tend to have is that we acknowledge the past, then we acknowledge the present, and once we've acknowledged uh, the present, the future is left to acknowledge. Okay. So we kind of want to figure out what's going on now to then figure out what we can do with it. All right. And I want the viewers to consider that you're not just in your own world and own story. You are actually, whether you like it or not, if you look in the mirror, you have direct membership and access. You have a direct membership to the human species. What that means is this whole time, because civilization isn't advanced, right? You think that your value is left to yourself, but the individual has more value, okay, than just to themselves. And if they can see beyond their own value, they can access the other values to them, right? So what I'm saying is, like, if let's say we look at the emotions of a human being on one day, and when we look at their emotions are on what is resisting their reality. Okay. So what forces are going against them, and how they are a force going against whatever's going against them, right? So if you look at let's say you look at the average human being and you ask them, like, hey, what's your state of mind? Like, are you happy? Are you depressed? Are you stressed? What are your problems? You'll get to realize most of the problems that human beings have is that their individual expectations haven't been met. And it became so fascinating to me to see that we're living as human beings that are self-obsessed. Now, on from another angle, we don't have a choice because we got to survive, right? But at the same time, it's kind of weird if your whole life is just a self-obsession of continuity without a sort of what do you call it, double checking the actual reality, right? So a human being needs to have the ability to be like, okay, what if everything I am seeing is wrong? Okay. And now here's the more interesting thing. If you want to be a next level scholar, you're gonna you know, go up a notch, and in some sense you're gonna be like, okay, what if everybody missed it? What if everybody doesn't know, right? Now, what's interesting about that, okay, is that the burden of figuring out reality lands on you alone, right? That means it's kind of bizarre. Like all the things that I have advanced in were things that I was willing to be a novice in. That means I went forward even though I did not still have an inner model of myself being able to do something. You just go forth, and after some time, like one of the most profound things I've heard somebody say was that they asked this person, "What is happiness?" And the person gave such an incredible definition. They said, "Happiness is just a moment where you look back at how far you've come." And that was, there was something very profound about like how that was said. Okay. But anyways, where I'm going is we got to kind of look at the human scenario. We got to look at human beings. And I became fascinated by this mere notion that the lifetime is occupied just with the self. Now, people are going to be like, Mr. Within, what do you mean? We have societies, you know, people have jobs, they're trying to integrate into society. I'll be like, yeah, sure. But the idea is we must not compare ourselves to just what's possible in front of us. We need to compare ourselves to how advanced we can be. Okay. That means who and what you compare yourself to is very important. So, anyways, where I'm going with this is just to point out that if you ask the average human being, like, what's got you down, right, they will share about their personal problems. They won't share about their impersonal collective situation. Like, you, if imagine if you see somebody in 2025, let's say crying, like somebody's just, you know, at a bus stop crying. You go ask them, why are you crying? They're not going to tell you because of all the suffering in humanity. They're not thinking in collective context. They're thinking in individually what's happening to me context. Okay, so, anyways, we need to realize that we're being ushered into an era where we need to be responsible for the presence of the species, not only our presence. That's the main point. So, anyways, I'm going to read some stuff for you. So I asked ChatGPT, pretty much I was curious. I'm like, what is the most advanced form of academic understanding known to man? And people don't realize this. When I typed this in, ChatGPT was like, ho, ho, ho. Like, you know, it's like, okay, questions, you know. Anyways, I'm going to read it for you, and then I'm going to share more of my own views afterwards. The most advanced form of academic understanding known to man is unified meta theory or meta integrated frameworks, which aim which aim, excuse me, where was I? Which aim to synthesize all fields of knowledge, physics, consciousness, mathematics, ethics, metaphysics, computation, and technology into a single self-consistent explanatory model of reality. This is often referred to in elite, like in elite academic circles, as POE, not just in physics. Now, so pretty much the most advanced form of academic understanding known to man is a type of unified meta theory. It's including all the fields of knowledge, so it's trying to answer everything. And I mean, it's titled a theory of everything. Okay, not just in physics, but across all domains of reality, which I think is a huge effort because we don't need to just have knowledge of specific fields. We need to understand how all aspects of reality are kind of moving at the same time, or how they're happening. So the core characteristics of the theory of everything. What is this theory of everything kind of like acknowledging, I guess? Transdisciplinarity. Disciplinary knowledge by unifying not just field principles, which makes sense because we have this view that we're starting off simple, and then as more layers of views are added, it's becoming more complex. Well, the simplest, how do I say it? It's like the simplest principles are like the foundation of the specific value theory. So it has to the foundation of different, how do I explain this? If I wanted to give a theory of everything right now, it has to include everything. Everything has a sort of, let's say, development. And at the starting point of its development, it's the foundational principles, right? So that means if I'm coming up with a theory of everything, it has to acknowledge the foundational principles of everything. Do you know? Anyways, so it's not just in one field. The theory of everything is not just like, physicists are kind of drooling over it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know um we need to consider all aspects and all phenomena to some degree in this reality to come up with a theory for it, right? So we need to consider everything to theorize something about everything. Anyways, we go to self-referential logic. It accounts for the observer within the system being observed. So human consciousness studying itself. Another way of saying this, as I've mentioned in previous talks, is the awareness to awareness. Okay, so it needs to account for the observer within the system being observed. So, and then we have nonlinear and multidimensional. Nonlinear and multidimensional. It handles systems that exist in multiple temporal, spatial, informational, or logical dimensions. So yeah, I mean, it's nonlinear in the sense that it's not like only one line of reality here. Okay, that it has to consider the presence of phenomena in various moments, right? So for example, in quantum physics, how the particle is in, I don't know, two places at once, and it like scared, like, physicists. I think the first, like one of the earliest quantum physicists were like, what WTF am I looking at right now? Incorporates the limits of knowledge, includes Gödel's incompleteness, Heisenberg's uncertainty. I'm glad it said uncertainty, Heisenberg's uncertainty, and limitations of language and perception. So I guess we need to. So Gödel's incompleteness theorem, the limits of logic itself. No matter how perfect a system of logic is, like math, there will always be truths inside it that you can't prove using its own rules. Analogy. It's like trying to read the label on a bottle from inside the bottle. Some truths are outside of the system's reach. Yep. Why it matters. This shattered the dream that all truth could be proven. Even math has mystery, even logic has limits. Okay, about time, Godel. You know, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the limits of measurement in physics. Yeah, because we can't index the whole cosmos, right? Simple explanation. At the quantum level, you can't know everything at once. For example, if you know exactly where a particle is, you can't know how fast it's going, and vice versa. Okay, that is that was very eye opening, actually. That when you keep reality, when you treat reality like a noun, you kind of don't understand how it's being a verb. Now it says, okay, why it matters. This shows that nature isn't just hard to predict, it's fundamentally uncertain. Reality itself has built in fuzziness. A unified summary for viewers. Godel told us even logic has blind spots. Heisenberg told us even reality has uncertainty. Together, they showed that the universe is not a closed box of answers. It's an open book of evolving mysteries. All right, I mean, like we all knew that. You know. Okay, so anyways, then we have the fifth factor bridges science and metaphysics. So the theory of everything. It does not ignore provable but structured domains like ethics, aesthetics, spirituality, and meaning. So yeah, that means we can't prove angels, but the subjective structure of it exists in our world. The idea exists. Okay, so humanity is working with external structures and internal structures. You got to keep that in mind. Not all internal structures and inner models to reality verify in accordance to reality, but it doesn't mean just because we can't prove an inner model to the outer realm, it doesn't mean the inner model is wrong. It just means there's limitations here, and kind of being a part of human is to know your limitations. There was this character in this anime called Goku, in DBZ, and this character, his main, like the way the author designed this character, was that it was designed to surpass its limit. That means the difference is that, for example, there were two characters, Vegeta and Goku. Vegeta was the embodiment of ego, okay, and Goku was the embodiment of sincerity, okay. And so it was as if there's nothing more, at least in that narrative, advanced than a sincere being wanting to surpass their limits. You know. Anyways, and like a very profound way how you can surpass your limits is honestly, like, for example, if somebody tells you to be strong, you shouldn't say, it's like you shouldn't try to be strong. You should be strong. You shouldn't try to be human right now. You should be a human. You shouldn't try to be normal. You should be. You should accept your being. Do you understand? Anyways, back to this. Computational universality. It uses tools from computer science and AI to model emergent and recursive systems. For example, cellular automata, quantum computation, algorithmic complexity. So automata, guys, it comes from the word automaton, plural form is automata. So cellular automata means a machine that performs function according to a predetermined set of coded instructions, especially one capable of a range of programmed responses to different circumstances. So it's pretty much how a cell responds to a sort of system where it's been set in. That's what cellular automata means. But anyways, so examples. We have some examples for these. Integrated Information Theory, IIT, for consciousness. Grand Unified Theories, GUTS, and String Theory, M theory in physics. I think M theory was the theory that I think M theory, I mean, string theory is obvious, you know. Uh, what is it, like 10 to 11 vibrating strings at the foundation of matter, right? But M theory, I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know. M theory was that there were hidden dimensions, like pockets in reality. I don't know. Maybe that could have been something else. But anyways, we're going to look into all of these. Grand unified theories, guts and string theory, M theory in physics. And then we have category theory as a mathematical framework for abstraction. We have systems theory, which is like, you don't know. It's like I was born to wonder about systems theory my whole life. It's, to me, it's one of the most beautiful and important things. How a system moves is kind of suggesting how the human being is being in a world. So we have systems theory plus cybernetics plus AI alignment in computational epistemology, philosophical idealism, simulation hypothesis for metaphysical synthesis. The ultimate academic horizon, a model that can explain reality from quarks to qualia, from algorithms to angels, and remains internally coherent, computationally valid, and spiritually resonant. So, anyways, we're going to look at these examples. Here's how you can explain each of these advanced academic frameworks to your viewers in a clear, powerful, and accessible way, like a master lecture unveiling the secrets of reality. Oh my God, this chat GPT, you know, you compliment me too much. Integrated Information Theory, IIT, the science of consciousness. How to explain it? Okay, imagine your mind is a light bulb. What makes it shine isn't just the parts, like neurons, but how integrated they are, how deeply they communicate as one. IIT says consciousness is the amount of information a system can generate as a whole that it couldn't if you separated its parts. So your consciousness isn't just brain activity, it's the irreducible unity of that activity. Yeah, I mean, integrated information theory, guys, it means just the whole thing can't be reduced. So IIT says consciousness is the amount of information a system can generate as a whole that it couldn't if you separated its part. So check out the analogy. The analogy is perfect, actually. It says it's not the notes, it's the song. If you break up a melody into scattered sounds, it stops being music. Same with consciousness, right? So that's the thing, guys, right? That means academia is understanding that as much as you want to break down the song of life to figure out what each note is, it's in a state of a verb. If it's in a verb, if the whole world is like a unified movement, it's an event, you can't break up one part of it, in the same way that you can't pause a film, one scene of a film, right, and then one frame of a film, right, and be like, yo man, this is the whole film. Or I've watched the whole film by understanding this single frame, or by just playing this one note in the piano, I've understood how to play the whole song, right? Like it's not possible, right? So It needs to have a holistic consideration that we're measuring the system as all of its activity being considered, which is kind of like an impossible task, but at the same time, there's a value. Big idea. ITT may one day measure how conscious something is, even an AI or a brain in a coma. Okay, then we go to grand unified theories, guts plus string theory. I don't know why I'm saying guts like that. I think there was this anime called Guts, which was one of the most messed up things I've ever seen, right? But anyways, grand unified theories, and plus string theory, the blueprint of the universe. So how to explain it? Physicists want one master equation that explains everything: light, gravity, matter, energy. Right now, physics is split. I know Einstein is macro and quantum physics is micro. Like relativity is macro. Anyways, Einstein explains the big, gravity. Quantum mechanics explains the small particles, but they don't match. Guts tries to merge them, and string theory says maybe everything is made of tiny vibrating strings, not particles. Guys, I think the person who suggested string theory, like there was a boardroom meeting of like the most advanced scientists, and they were all like, "Guys, what do we do with this? Einstein and like quantum physics. We can't connect the relativity and general relativity and quantum physics. What do we do? You know?" And some dude's like, "Yo, man, my cousin was playing the guitar the other day. What if everything's made of strings?" And everybody in the boardroom just looked at that guy. It's like, all right, man, why don't you go take a break? Okay, I'm just imagining that. I don't know if that happened, but analogy. So the analogy, think of reality like a cosmic orchestra. Every particle is different musical note, and strings are the instruments playing them. Okay, I guess the guitar strings are playing the world. We're not playing this instrument. Big idea. This could be the universe's source code, the operating system beneath space, time, and energy. See, from one perspective, the system is not being operated from inside it. But if the system was being operated from inside it, then I guess we would need some sort of shape to explain the fundamental. But I personally believe it's beyond shape, because it's not like the finale is a noun. It's like an active verb. It's like an engage. It's like it's like activity. Do you know what I mean? That means, is the final moments just like a scene, like a view, a screenshot, like a picture, or is it a film? We're living in a film. We're not living in a photograph. But most of academia has been treating reality like a photograph. Okay, due to how the nature of language works. Anyways, we go to three category theory. The math of everything. How to explain it? Most people think of math as numbers. I see it more as a language, to be honest. But most people think of math as numbers. But category theory is deeper. It's about relationships between ideas, like a web. It finds the hidden symmetry and structure behind all systems, not just numbers. Analogy: if regular math is Lego bricks, category theory is the blueprint that tells you how any kind of bricks can connect, no matter their shape or color. Yeah, yeah, because it's to some degree, I guess, the context to mathematics, it would be. Or no, no, sorry, it's not the context. It's, I guess, here it says it finds the hidden symmetry and structure behind all systems, not just numbers. Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it far surpasses just something relevant to mathematics, Anyways, big idea. It's the math of transformation. It helps unify math, logic, and even physics and computer science. Four, systems theory plus cybernetics plus AI alignment, the science of intelligent control. How to explain it? Everything complex, your body, a company, a nation, or an AI is a system. Systems theory studies how parts create wholes, how feedback loops work, how balance is maintained. Cybernetics adds control, how a system steers itself toward goals, like a thermostat or an AI robot. And AI alignment, that's about making sure super intelligent AIs follow human values, not destroy us accidentally. So it says it's like programming the autopilot of Earth. You need to make sure the plane knows where we want to go and that it doesn't crash us on the way. Big idea. This is the new survival science, how to manage complex systems, including artificial minds, before they manage us. So complexity is like a system, I guess. And I guess, I mean, something simple would be the element, and then different elements, interacting with one another makes the system. So it's the relationship of how individual parts are making up the whole. So if you wanted to kind of like apply systems theory, I guess, to like a company, you would begin to see what the actual activity of all the individuals in that company is, right? And what their relationship with the whole company is. Okay, we go to five, philosophical idealism plus simulation hypothesis. The matrix of mind and reality. How to explain it? Materialism says matter is real and mind is secondary. But idealism flips that. Maybe consciousness is fundamental and matter is inside mind. Simulation hypothesis takes it further. Maybe this world is a program running inside a higher dimensional intelligence like God or an advanced civilization. If previously in the previous lectures I had said the final most advanced civilization, at least theologically speaking, is paradise, is heaven. And if simulation hypothesis is saying the world is a program running inside a higher dimensional intelligence like God or an advanced civilization, I find that it's happening in God, but because where is the advanced civilization happening? The advanced civilization is the suggestion. It's kind of like saying Earth is being simulated in heaven, but there is no way of me saying that. Okay, but it's just the idea analogy. If life feels like a dream or a game, maybe that's because it is. Just like in your dreams, the world around you might be rendered by something deeper than atoms, by awareness itself. That's a very important point. When we have dreams, right, reality, the laws of reality are different. So it's not just based on an atomic existence. You see, that's the thing about the human being. We're accessing perspective, perception, conscious perception that is not based on the laws of the atom when we, for example, close our eyes and imagine or when we dream. So, big idea here. Maybe God out of meaning. That sentence. Final statement. But, guys, the thing about me is that, okay, anyways, I don't want to get into that. Final statement for your lecture. These aren't just theories, they're maps of the ultimate reality. From measuring consciousness to decoding the cosmos to programming future AIs to discovering if we live in the mind of God. This is where all knowledge is converging. The future of understanding is not more facts, it's integration. These frameworks are not the end, they're the beginning of a unified human awakening. Okay, there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just reviewed, you know, what the most advanced academic understanding of our planet currently is. It's called the theory of everything. It has, core six core characteristics. It's transdisciplinarity, disciplinary, I guess, disciplinarity, self-referential logic, nonlinear and multidimensional, incorporates the limits of knowledge, bridges science and metaphysics, computational universality. So it's acknowledging all these factors, right? So that means human beings are looking to understand the world in a way that they all can understand it similarly. But I find that it's not been designed specifically for that unless our understanding is not bound to the limits of atomic existence. You see, I'm a different DNA, different organism. You're a different organism. Okay, there is no way we can understand the reality in the same way externally because we have different eyes and we're occupying different positions in the space-time continuum. But when it comes to how we value reality, there we can unify. You see, if there wasn't the ability to communicate, human beings would be fighting till the end of time because we wouldn't know what the f the other being is or what the values of the other being is, right? So anyways, and examples of this theory of everything, we had integrated information theory for consciousness. Only one movement of one thing system, doesn't suggest at all. We have grand unified theories and string theory. Some dude was like, yo, man, we can't connect, what's it called? The macro and the micro, general relativity and quantum physics. But what if everything's made of strings? It's like, sponsored by cheese strings, string theory. Actually, honestly, the scientist who came up with string theory was 100% like eating that cheese string food product. Anyways, category theory, systems theory, and simulation hypothesis. So category theory, I guess how systems in accordance to their foundational value kind of fall in same category. I don't know. Guys, the human species needs to advance. Like seriously, we need to advance. It's becoming lame. It's becoming sad. Civilization is becoming sad because in some sense we can in our inner life see a more advanced possibility to it, but in our outer life not living that advanced possibility. We're living in a time where people have dreams rather than realizing how they're dreaming. They're more obsessed about their dreams. You know, to be honest, the system's designed so we can never kind of figure it out, I think, which goes to say that all knowledge returns back to the mystery, to a deep mystery. It's kind of cool, It's cool that we're somewhere It's cool that we're something. It's cool how we're all being something. It's cool how we can all do something. And you got to shift your mindset from treating yourself from a noun to a verb. That means a verb can't be judged, but a noun can. And if I reduce you into a noun, I can shape you. But if you're a verb, I cannot shape you. Do you understand? That means if somebody comes up to me and says, who are you? Like if you come up to me and ask me, who are you? Right? What kind of answer can I give? Well, guess what? My life is like a film so far. But for you, I need to structure the answer and give you some sort of contained, understandable answer. Do you know? Because if reality is a verb and we've been treating it like a noun this whole time, that explains why we haven't been advancing as far as we can. So, as an exercise for the viewers listening now, I want you to treat yourself as a verb right now. That means you're not just a thing, right? That means your body right now, because it's slowly changing, we're like, yo, that looks like you. But imagine if your body was changing every second. Like if our form as a life form was shape shifting all the time, we couldn't be like, yo, man, how does that person look like? You know? We wouldn't be able to tell because the world it's the same idea that if the world I'm standing on was changing faster than I was changing, where am I? How can I even acknowledge it? So it's the fact that things have been slowed down, that manifestation is apparent, and to truly go towards, let's say, a higher state of being, one has to in some sense speed up the noun that is limited. It's very important to not only wonder how you're being a verb, because if you're a verb you can't be defined. That means imagine you somebody does something foolish and people are like, yo, look at this person's so stupid, you know. But that person is not a freaking noun that can be branded as stupid, you know, that you can, like, you know, put a signature, okay, I've signed this, you know, being, it's okay, this being is officially stupid. It's like no, it's not. Like, do you know what I mean? It's one of those situations where a verb cannot be bound by nouns in the past. Do you know what great power comes with treating yourself as a verb? That means, do you know what the difference is? That means if somebody says, what are you? If I think of myself as a noun, I'm a life form. But if I think of myself as a verb, I'm a life force. There's a difference. And why is, in some sense, the soul, why is it that in Islam, the whole Holy Quran, which I treat as the source code and advanced technology way ahead of its time, you know, that answered problems that souls didn't know they had. It's like if the soul is a verb and we're treating ourselves as a noun inside a noun self inside a noun world. That's why we can never know the soul, because it's a verb and we're limiting our acceptance of reality to how it's nouns. So believe it or not, this is it. And what's happening in this, all this stuff I read for you about academic understanding, that's what they're realizing. They're realizing they can't dissect the verb of life into, you know, as just a structured noun of one moment. Do you understand? So if right now life is a film and this film is just going forward, it's being played, okay? If I suddenly stop being a character in the film and I just, like, do you understand what I'm saying? I'm saying, for example, even you, whoever you are listening, I've noticed this. So when I give these lectures, it's like the viewers are like birds that kind of land on a branch, just stare for some time and leave. And to me, I was like, how are people hearing what I'm saying? How are they even being fascinated by reality, if they treat the screenshot, if they treat one frame of the film as the value of the whole film and they judge it based on that. You understand what I mean? That means if somebody was giving a lecture and I just tune into that lecture and I hear the guy say one sentence and I dislike that one sentence, okay, and then I stop listening to the lecture, it's as if, what did I even listen to? I listened to one frame of a film. So you never even saw the film. Do you know? That means anybody who doesn't listen to the whole lecture, I don't know what you're actually listening to. You're listening to fragments. Do you know? Because what is the intention behind the movement? Okay, and that's in the domain of verbs, right? For me, if somebody says, "Hey man, why are you talking so much?" I'll be like, first of all, because we have ears and a mouth, and secondly, because we have the responsibility as the most advanced species compared to those that we know, okay, so far, have the greatest ability to contact a higher power. No other species has this to this extent. That means they have an awareness. Like that means if let's say we have this scenario where I say God was present. I'm not Christian, but I'm imagining, let's say, from the, because for me as a Muslim, the whole point is that God is not limited to anything in the world. Nothing in the world can be a partner to the system admin. Okay, that's my view as a Muslim. But I have Christian friends, and to them, they acknowledge that Christ was God through the context of the Trinity. So it is possible for them to, like, imagine if God was standing in front of you right now, how would you feel? But for a Muslim, that's not possible to imagine. Okay, right? So now this example I'm saying, it's going to be like, imagine there's a suddenly God was in the room, okay, and there's a human being and there's a bird on the branch and there's even a dolphin. Okay, so the dolphin and the bird and the human, they can notice this higher position, this higher power, but out of the dolphin, the bird, and the human being has the greatest opportunity to engage the higher power. You understand? It's not, see, it's not special noticing something beyond, like something higher than you, right? It's like what your advantage by your human design is, not just a greater ability to notice the divine system administration, right, but in some sense to have a living relationship with the system admin, which is beyond the world. That means like, I do understand the notion of the Trinity, but why did Christ talk about the Father? Why is there an acknowledgement that Christ was the Son? Right? Do you know? It's because all prophets have been pointing to that which is beyond your worldly limitation. And we were so scared of changing our worldly limitation that human beings, in some sense, attacked what they didn't understand, which is the most normal thing ever. Do you know what I mean? That means it's not that, ladies and gentlemen, there's smart and stupid people here. There is people who are patient to become aware of something properly and people who are not. And those people who are impatient to do the workload end up actually becoming villains in the narrative, right? But this doesn't mean, I shouldn't say they be, and they, like, this isn't an absolute. This is just me saying, even if you don't like the stories, just look at the design of the system. It, like, to me, do you know how fascinating it is? Like, just how beautiful and fascinating of a view it is, that all the others, out of all the species on this planet, we've noticed the system admin. The others, they might notice it. Like, for example, imagine a turtle, right, with a plastic around its neck, right? The turtle doesn't have the sophisticated ideological systems of man, but it's going to feel like some higher force is handling it and releasing it. Okay, it's not going to be like, it's not going to have the sophisticated notion of a human being that God is not in a shape in the world, but it's going to be like, this is a higher power helping me get this plastic out of my turtleneck. You know what I mean? So we human beings have an awareness to the world that is so much more advanced than the other species. And just like Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. With great design, with great power of design, existential design, comes great existential responsibility. That means if you were oblivious, if you were right now like a turtle or a bird or something, I wouldn't be talking about the advancement of civilization to you, because why do you care? You're just a program of instinct. But you, as a human being, have human consciousness, an ability to differentiate, an ability to separate from yourself from the world, to be able to notice the world. So, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, wonder about reality, wonder about your unique position, wonder about the depths of it, wonder about whether we've been treating it like a noun this whole time and it's been verbs. All the people we've treated like nouns, right? All our enemies and friends and everything, we're like, yo, man, that guy is an ally of mine. Oh my God, that guy is an enemy of mine. It's like, yo, man, these are all nouns in a story held by a noun. But in the world is a verb. And we are not that advanced yet to be living consciously as a verb, because if you did, you wouldn't have a body. The whole moment would be your body. Everything moving would be your movement, because you're moving as everything in it. Do you understand? So it's all about the relationship of an organism in regards to how it has separated itself from the world, only to realize that its separation from the world is a simulation of itself. So, whoever you are, I'm going to tell you this. Don't for one moment think that we human beings have figured it out. This civilization we're currently in, I call it civilization 1.0. If you were born 100 years in the future and you opened your eyes, that would be your civilization 1.0. Do you know? But in civilization 1.0, what we are seeing is that there is more of, in some sense, like, how do I say it? What are desires? They are nouns we want to be. There are scenarios. That means to me, like, I come here in front of you and in front of humanity and everybody who may ever hear these lectures, and I say, we must live for the advanced humanity and for the advancement of civilization. But do you know deep down, my view on civilization is that, oh my God, how many boxes are on the head of an unknown purity, of an unknown truth? It's like we've boxed. It's like the world is a box, the self is a box, the ideas on the self is a box, the language is a box. Do you know what I mean? And it's like we've been boxed into all these boxes, and what human understanding is, in some sense, breaking, in some sense, what you never deserve to just be chained to be limited to. That means if this whole time there's way more advanced ways to look at this earth, should we still, just for the sake of the honor of the past, keep looking at it that way? In some sense, if the past gave us the freedom to see beyond, then in some sense it was a wise past. That means I don't know how wise or unwise, or how smart or foolish my ancestors were. I don't even know how smart and foolish your ancestors were, right? But they got us here to the point that we can update the system we entered. And to me, human civilization is a massive storytelling procedure. Okay. That means, like, the human being, once it became individually conscious, freaked out. It had to lie to itself to be able to manage itself. And guess what? Right now, where the species is lying itself to manage itself. You have a value beyond any noun. Anyways, thank you for listening, folks. True advancement doesn't mean we just go into any system and just be a part of it. It means to truly understand what is systems thinking, what is systems theory, how is the system being valued to be. And we are present within a very advanced system to the degree that it has hidden corners, it has blind spots. The ancients would call it that there are veils upon reality. Right now, language is like a conscious veil, a veil we're conscious of. Matter is a veil we're conscious of. You know, the world is a veil we're conscious of. But what is truly going on here, the might of a truth that surpasses anything we have considered so far, that is where you are. You are in the presence of, in some sense, the most advanced. It is time also for you to be your most advanced presence. So your most advanced presence actually comes from being aware of the most advanced presence. And for humanity, I would say the most advanced thing that human beings can do is to notice their limitations and to have the courage and bravery to enter the freedom of novelty. You see, you need to trust life, but you need to trust it more than your own ideas on it. Anyways, thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Auzubillah shaitan rajim. May God protect us from the cursed one and from unnecessary ignorance and evil. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, all creation. Before I was Muslim, every atom, every cell was conscious. Everything simulated in this world is conscious of what simulated it. It knows it whether it likes it or not. Rabbi Gfirli, my Lord, forgive me, my Lord, forgive my species for that which they know and that which they don't know, which means that we need administration. But we also need to realize that the system admin's not in the world. That's the most advanced position, that which has no limitations. Anyways, thank you. Thank you for listening. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. May God guide us to the direct path. May the most advanced guide us in the most advanced way. Have a good day.